Will I see you at the show tonight? Will I see you at the show tonight?
Hey, truck to the plane to the truck to the hotel lobby. Me, I go to underground garage. Presidential suite on deposit. Elevator up to the room. Shower up and then we hit the club. Touchdown, gotta see what's up. Area code in my phone. What number do I still have? Who do I know from the past? Hit one, she said she got a man. Hit another one that goes green. Must have changed phones on the team. Remember when you let me in between? That was 2017, all good jobs. So look around, find one that seem my type. That my dog and he know what I like. He done found me plenty in my life. Problem is I meet a girl tonight, then I go and treat her too nice. Galleria credit card swipe, I don't even know if she a wife. But I do know one thing though,
Women they come, they go.
Saturday through Sunday, Monday through Sunday, yo. Maybe I love you one day, maybe we'll someday grow. Till then I'll send my drunk ass on that runway, on this one way. 2:30,
Baby, won't you meet me by the beach?
yeah.
Maybe later you can show me things.
Ooh.
You know what it is whenever I visit. When he city, she blow me kisses. No, 30 degrees, way too cold, so hold me tight. Will I see you at the show tonight? Will I see you at the show tonight?
Hey. Jury in the safe on arrival. Pistol on J for survival. Lot of people gunning for the title. Lot of people trying to take us viral. I'm just trying to have a night though. Waiter brought a check for the meal. She said, babe, I think there was a typo. Nah, girl, I got it last night though. I can show you bigger things than that. It's gonna be a minute till I'm back. Let me give you images that last. It had a limit in the past. I had plenty women in the past. I done plenty sinning in the past. You don't need to know, but you can ask. Sticking on your backstage pass. It's all access cause you bad. You can go wherever with that ass. Show to the shower to the truck to the club for the party. You go in first with your girls. Cause I don't know who's out there watching, but I do know one thing though. Women they come, they go. Saturday through Sunday, Monday, Sunday, yo. Maybe I'll love you one day. Maybe we'll someday grow. Till then I'll send my drunk ass on that runway on this one.
2:30, baby, won't you meet me by the beach? You wouldn't, maybe later you can show me things. You what it is whenever I visit. Windy City, she blow me kisses. No, 30 degrees, way too cold, so hold me tight. Will I see you at the show tonight? Will I see you at the show tonight?
Ladies and gentlemen,
This is not a test. This is your emergency broadcast system announcing the commencement of another purge of the BS, sanctioned by the First
ladies and
Amendment.
gentlemen,
Frustration levels
ladies
0
and-
to 100 have been authorized for use during this purge. All weapons are restricted. Government officials have not been granted immunity from the purge of the BS and shall undoubtedly receive the smoke. Commencing at the sound of the gong, any and all BS, especially unnecessary goofiness, will be purged without consequence. Police, fire, and emergency medical services will be available, but they will be busy because they too will be watching the purge of the BS. Blessed be those who have already been victims of some BS. May God be with you all.
I believe we are live once again on another Purge of the BS Thursday edition. Sorry I'm a little bit late. Son celebrating the birthday, so family first as always, right? But thank y'all for coming in. Who I got first in the chat? Oh, we got IMZ first in the chat. You know you're getting your applause. Yes. Make sure my feeds are up. We got Kick. We got Kick, Twitch, YouTube. I might bring in TikTok in a minute, but I gotta remind myself, you know. So nonetheless, let me know where you're coming from. If you're coming from anywhere except just the interwebs, I do appreciate all of y'all for being here. Thank you for another Purge of the BS.
3 shots for the purge in the words. We got numbers on the head of the morally absurd. When the world starts to burn and machines stop crying. Remember this, I see my influence still shine.
Hey.
Yo, we coming for the crown, F a top 10. When there's nothing left to purge and we stopped in. 3 kings against the world, how we mobbing?
All right, I think we're live here. I think we're live and active. How I sound in the chat there, or well, I guess online because the chat is just chat. How I sound? Do I sound good? Because I want you to hear me. It's important. It's important. On the kick side, who we got on the kick side? First in the chat on the kick side. I'll see it when you get there. They got a lot going on kick right now. What are they doing? A locked in-a-thon. I don't think I can do all that. I don't think I can really do a locked in-a-thon. Y'all will have to watch me sleep at least a couple of times in that. It will not be actively active. So anyway, today's purge. Let's see what we got today. Oh, we are dealing with race mutual metrics. Okay. So welcome back, of course, to the Purge of the BS. Looks like we up and ready to roll here. Tonight, we're going somewhere that I already know is going to piss some people off and probably annoy the algorithm a little bit, but we've been doing that for quite some time. So make sure that if you are new to the channel, you hit the like, hit the subscribe, jump into once you hit the subscribe, you can jump into the chat and have a conversation with our beautiful mods. But nonetheless, let's just have a conversation about something that I know is a sensitive topic to many. We're going to be talking about race, college admissions, equality, merit, and affirmative action. And before anybody gets emotional, let me tell you what I'm trying to figure out here, okay? I'm not trying to tell you what what you're supposed to think. My goal is to try to understand something. And if we decided that race shouldn't be used to determine who gets into college, what happens when we start using a bunch of other factors that happen to produce very different racial outcomes? Are those factors really race neutral? Or did we just change the name? And they're talking about this because they're attempting to, the DOJ has brought charges against Duke Law University? Duke University Law, sorry. And basically saying that they're violating the law by using certain practices to admit some less fortunate applicants. And they are literally saying that those applicants are beating out white and Asian students by the masses, stopping the opportunities for them. That is the claim. So the question I have is equality being rebranded. Like, did they just rebrand it into something else and try to call it equality? And now people are upset about that. And we're going to have a conversation about this because I believe that the term reverse racism comes into play. But nobody wants to say that. Nobody wants to talk about that. So we're going to talk about it. But before we get all the way into our situation here, just understand that we're talking about something that's a little bit deeper than the normal super trendy conversations. And I'll get to a couple of clips because you know how I do. But I want to have this conversation because I couldn't believe that we're still having this conversation as if people don't understand the implications of what they're talking about. And the reason why it caught my attention is because we are currently in the post-affirmative action world. So there was affirmative action. 3 years ago, they shut that down. And that was when they were just literally using raw numbers. Like, you got to have this many black people in your university. You got to have this many people. And so they shut that down and said, all right, we're going to do this on the merits. And they came up with merits that kind of led them to the same conclusions as far as who to admit. And now they're calling it racist. Yes, that is what's happening right now. And race itself can't simply be used as a factor to give somebody an advantage or disadvantage. But let's just say this. If we said we're only taking applicants who are over 6'2", right? Granted, you'll have a variety, but that would still lean more to one particular group. That's how simple it goes. So when they say we're not looking at race, instead we're looking at family income, first generation college status, educational opportunities, whether or not you overcame adversity, personal experiences, diversity of perspective. These are all phrases that they're using now, but they can still lead you into the same general area. And because they led them to the same general area, the Department of Justice has brought charges against them. So we're going to talk about that. But before we get there, let's just talk about why the policies existed in the first place. As a matter of fact, before I get to that, let me bring y'all what you want to see. You want to see something crazy? I got something crazy. Always got something crazy. So we're going to start with my AI segment, but we're going to come back to this whole universities thing in a minute. But I wanted y'all to know we're going to have that conversation tonight. But for the purposes of SEO and entertainment, we do have to bring in the additional Purge elements of the night. And let's see, where do we start? Did you hit the like button? You didn't hit the like button. All right. So this clip came to me not long ago, maybe a couple hours ago, and somebody told me it is time to be very, very scared. I didn't know what they meant at first, but apparently they have these humanoid robots that they've been working on over in China. All right. The humanoid robots, along with, human robot dogs and all this other stuff, is like the new wave of law enforcement is about to happen. And we've all seen iRobot and all this kind of stuff. We've seen this. We've seen this movie. And as things progressed, we had to be honest, like at one point, none of the stuff they were making was even close to being useful in that real world, right? They done changed. So apparently they now have like robot Olympics where they bring out the robots and they do sprints and all types of stuff to see what their capabilities are. And recently they came out with these robots that can run. And I'm going to say this, y'all got to take a look at this. That thing is moving. Now granted, it didn't know when to stop. Oh, it didn't work as well as it should have. But at this point right here, there's fear. I have fear that anything running down the street this fast at people could be dangerous. And that wasn't the only one. They did a whole segment on it. I didn't know it was like a thing. They're doing this over there. So China's going to beat us in this race. They might not beat us in the actual Olympics, but this robot thing, they doing that. Look at this guy. That's a good one, though. Okay, so you get the point. Not saying that they're perfect, not yet. But what I am going to say is anything that moves this fast, running down the street after people, is going to scare the hell out of me. And I don't think I'm going to get in this way. And if China's the first one to do it, they're going to do it. They already got robot crossing guards over there. They already got automated vehicles. We already know about that. So they're getting ready to do this because Chinese people don't run this fast. Not at all. This one of them beat Carl Lewis's record. And so they've created something that once they put its automation into it and they're not remote controlling it anymore, we got a problem. And I think y'all need to be honest with yourselves on this one. We have pretty much invited this whole thing in. We pretty much said, hey, give us more tech. Give us better tech. Give us faster tech. Give us better robots. Give us this, give us that. And then we stopped asking for stuff and they just kept making it. And they kept making things. So, hold on a second here. I just kept making stuff. Just making sure my camera's still on. All right. All right. Am I still live? Give me a thumbs up in the chat, anyone, if I'm still live here. Anyone? Nobody. Okay. Who did I piss off this early? Who did I piss off this early? All right. Nonetheless. So I was trying to tell people the main thing, which was I appreciate technology and technological advancements just as much as the next person. But some things I've seen these movies about, and the movies, like, I got PTSD. I'm not going to lie. I see anything like this running down the street, I imagine 10 to 15 of them running as a pack that fast after someone. And, like, let's say they jump on them. What are you going to do? You going to stop a bunch of robots? You don't have the strength. So you're going to have to sit there and watch robots lose their minds on somebody. That is literally going to happen. And me personally, depending on who they're chasing, I might be for it. I'm just being honest. If they're chasing one of the peds, they're chasing the peds, go get them. But if they're chasing old ladies down the street and kids and dogs and things like that, that might be a bit much. But we'll see where this goes. But we already know it's going to continue to go. And shouts to Shanine946 over on the Twitch side for the new follow. But yeah, I don't want to say it because I do not believe that we should look at these robots as some bullshit. I don't. I think you need to be real with yourself. We done seen Terminator, iRobot. We seen Short Circuit with Johnny Five. We done seen this movie 1,000 times. Okay? So we already know where it's going to end. The robots are not, maybe they're not going to necessarily take over, but they're going to try. They might try. Let me say it correct for YouTube. Because I said, if I say they're going to, that means I'm trying to be definitive. They might try. They may have the intelligence and resources to attempt to take over. And we have literally seen this movie 1,000 times. When are humans going to realize that we will be our own destruction only because of some of the things that we actually build? That's the part that's wild to me. We're just going to build our destructor, just like the Ghostbusters had to decide who was choose the destructor. That's an age reference. I know some of y'all a little bit young for the Ghostbusters, the original one, not the one with the girls, and you know what I'm saying. But nonetheless, let's be honest. I think ushering in this age, we can't stop it at this point. I've already told y'all, so you better go learn some of these codings. You better learn how to use AI, better learn how to use Claude and open AI and all that kind of stuff. You need to learn how to use it because the Chinese kids are learning how to use it in elementary school and middle school. I told y'all that 2 episodes ago. I had a whole news story about it. And our kids are learning pronouns. Who do you think is going to win the educational race at the end when that is the curriculum that they're focused on? Just saying. So anyway, let's keep this thing going. Let's keep this thing going. I definitely appreciate the people in the chat saying that they can help grow the channel. Just do it. Just do it. Feel free to share the live. Feel free to share the channel. Feel free to share that purge of the BS. So let's see what we got next on our list for the night. Let me see. Why is it not coming up? Oh. Wrong page. That would be why. Oh, this is an interesting one. All right. I guess we're going to get in trouble early tonight. Gotcha. All right, guys. This next one is rough. It's rough for me to talk about it only because I know that the algo does not like me discussing when somebody does certain things with certain groups. I could not avoid this discussion. But I'll let this nice young Caucasian lady explain it, and then I'll have a discussion at the end. She may get us through the algo tonight, okay? I don't know her name. Don't ask, fellas. Let's see what we got here.
All right, parents, come here. We need to talk. For the love of everything that is pure and freaking holy in this world, will you please start vetting who you allow around your children?
Yes.
Especially in today's world.
In Griff, according to arrest warrants, the FBI used cell phone ping technology to track the babysitter's phone to an apartment complex in southwest Atlanta, but it was a very low-tech signal, a baby's cry, that led police to this trailer on the property. Officers forced their way inside. Watch what happened next.
I heard about this story.
I will shoot you.
I got the baby.
Don't move this baby back.
You got the baby?
All right, stay where you are. Keep your hands up.
All right. Come on, baby.
Investigators say the trailer was dirty and had no air conditioning, but the 4-year-old girl and her 11-month-old sister appeared to be in good health. Police arrested 42-year-old Lakeisha Brown. She faces 2 counts of kidnapping and 2 counts of first-degree cruelty to children just for this case in Atlanta. According to court records, Brown also faces separate kidnapping charges involving an infant in Alabama, but failed to appear for her trial back in May. Prosecutors there have filed a motion seeking to revoke her bond.
Absolutely.
After brief medical checks, the 2 children were reunited with their mother here in Atlanta.
Thank God.
The mom tells our colleagues at Fox 5 Atlanta she met Brown through a mother's group on Facebook about a year ago, and over time had grown to trust her enough to leave the kids alone with her for the very first time this past Saturday while she went out for dinner. When it was time to return the children, the mother says that she was unable to get responses. Then later, the babysitter allegedly told her that she had been involved in a wreck. But when the mother called local children's hospital, there were no records of kids matching the descriptions. Police have been able to interview this alleged kidnapper, but say she was unable to provide them with a logical motive.
Let me just say this. I highly encourage for you to do background checks on people who are in your lives, and especially who are going to be in your kids' lives. Especially if you're going to be leaving this person alone with your children. And you've only known this person a year. Start giving a little bit more of a shit about who is in your circle and around your children.
Okay. Well, I mean, she said a lot to say a little. We get it. The main point is watch your babies, right? I get the main point. There is a question I have, though, about the person that they decided to let hold these children. They found these kids in a damn trailer based on a cell phone ping. Now, all right. Let's just be honest here. If that's the type of people you're letting get around your kid, yeah, you definitely need to vet a lot further. But more often than not, black people don't kidnap children. Okay? A lot of them are not looking for the responsibility. Let's just be honest. So that was an isolated case. But the more important piece, and the one that I need y'all to understand, is what she said, which is watch who you put your kids around. That's real. And a lot of folks, deal with just having whoever around their kids due to convenience and don't even understand that convenience can possibly harm your child. So this young lady is correct. Watch who you have around your kids. Now, background checks and all that kind of stuff does cost a little bit. But if you're going to have somebody around your kid late like that, then you definitely want to do that. You definitely want to do some background checks. So I know we're getting booted right now on the YouTube side. If you come back on the YouTube side, make sure you let me know you are in the chat. I know I am receiving a notification that we have already stepped outside the envelope on YouTube. Kick, what's up? Let me just say that. Kick, cool. They ain't worrying about nothing. But YouTube is definitely worried about something we have already covered. And all we're covering is the bullshit. That's it. That's it. I think it's sad that lady has to come out here and tell us something we already should know. Watch who you got your kids around. That's it. It's very simple. It's very simple. So we can blame the algorithm for the quick kick and freezing that happened a few minutes ago there. So if you managed to stay on the stream, great. If not, hopefully you refreshed your page and you end up back on the stream. But for the 30 or so people that just got kicked off a second ago, I'm sorry for that. Shouts to Donald J. Plump for jumping up into the Purge chat over there. All right, so we're going to keep it going, man. Because they told me that, this was supposed to be some good information from this lady, and I just find it sad that we have to have this woman come out here to say something like that. What's more important is that particular case and that particular lady that decided to take somebody's children and put them in a trailer. That is abnormal. I'm just being honest. I'm not trying to be on some racist shit, but black people are not known for taking extra children. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not known for that. That's not us. That's not us. You know, not saying it never happens. I'm just saying when you hear about it, you don't picture that same group. Like, yeah, they're not taking care of the kids they already got. Why would they want to snatch up some kids? And that's not being that. That's, I'm just saying that would be the understood expectation. So I don't know. Z got kicked off. Z might have got booted off when the stream slipped, because it does that from time to time. Oh, so for all of the folks that are actually viewing, I got a new camera, so I might be a little clearer tonight than normal, or I might have that glamour shots glow. Whichever one. I hope you like it. We invest in what you see. And thank you, Purple Groovy, for greeting people. I appreciate that. If you're a mod on the channel, you're in the chat, please greet the folks, because they could be anywhere else, and they happen to be here purging with us. So let's continue into our next segment of purgeristic stuff. What we got here? Oh, okay. Oh, we're going into politics. Gotcha. Do we do the politics first or this first? No, we got to do this one first. All right, so, Jesus, this is going to be interesting. I thought I wasn't going to get in trouble tonight. I tried to plan it effectively to keep certain things early in the show. It's not working. None of this stuff is YouTube friendly like I thought it would be. You know? So let's go into this next story. It has been killing on the headlines lately. And I thought it was an interesting thing to discuss because we have some really interesting opinions here on this channel. So over in, I don't even know what state it is. Maybe it'll get mentioned in here. But this lady had decided to be a surrogate for some people, right? Basically, they were going to put their baby gravy in the inside of her, and she would cook it in the oven, and then she would take it out the oven and give it back to them. That was the original agreement. Something happened in the process. The baby was seen, through an ultrasound with, I want to say, some type of an illness, okay? And the apparent parents who were paying the surrogate were asking the surrogate to get rid of this baby, okay? The surrogate lady decided that she was not going to get rid of the baby, and she felt pressured by this family to do so. And so I guess she went with her body, her choice on that, because the baby was born, and now the family that surrogated the child is suing the surrogate. Oh yeah, y'all got to hear this. It's a lot. It's a lot. So let's bring this one over. Let's see what's up with this BS. Oh man, my vape getting ready to run out. Oh.
And I just didn't know what to do. I felt very trapped due to this contract and felt like I had no voice. But I knew in my soul and my heart that I wanted to protect this little boy. And thankfully, my brother was, it was put on his heart to call me and just speak hope and courage into me. And he and his wife even offered to adopt this baby if it meant me not having to go through this late-term abortion.
Wow. Right, because at this point, the baby's almost 5 months in utero, and this is, you start to feel the baby moving. It's like, this is a very
this is an interesting one. All right, let's get in some trouble tonight.
I can't imagine what it would be like to be told that you must abort the baby, like that you must.
Well, technically, so that's not your baby, though. I mean, I get it, but hold on now.
Taken a lot of prayers and courage on your part, and now it's devolved into a legal battle. So let me bring in Lincoln at this point, your lawyer. So Lincoln, was the legal battle? Did the parents try to force the abortion? Has a court ruled on that? Because McKenna did not abort the baby. She is pregnant right now.
No,
she still haven't. She didn't have the baby yet.
What really happened was that after McKenna had
I thought she just had some baby weight on there.
Essentially,
she didn't look bad.
Campaign to force her to abort. They even enlisted her own prior counsel to serve her with a demand of $250,000 with a process server in the middle of the night. And when they were unsuccessful in doing that, what they did was they pivoted to California, and they filed a lawsuit in California, even though the contract requires any litigation in Alaska where McKenna lives. They said, we're filing suit in California and we want an expedited judgment of parentage. And our basic understanding is that what they want to do is, if they're declared the parents, and unfortunately the California court did declare them to be the parents, then they can make the decision about medical care.
What the fuck?
And they can decide when this baby's born that they won't give him any care, and he'll be dead in a matter of days without it. McKenna is unequivocally willing to fight for his life, though.
All right, this is an interesting one. Okay. Let me first start with this. I'm going to start with this. I'm pissed off I can't find my other vape right now. Might have to take a minute. I know I have it somewhere. But anyway, let's have this discussion. Y'all can weigh in on this at any point in time, because this is a dangerous slope to be on right here. All right. So the lady decides to sell her womb, I guess is what you're going to call this, to house someone else's child. Then when they decide they don't want to have the child, she decides against what they're deciding. And the court has ruled that the baby that was inside of her is not hers. So, because this child hasn't been born yet, the decision is being made right now as to whether or not they will provide care for the child once it's born, because the legal implication is on the parents who put the baby in there. This is some real backward stuff that we got going on right now, because I don't even understand how to go with this. And I'll tell you why. Because we've been hearing the term "my body, my choice" for quite some time. But these folks rented out her body with a contract. And she was obviously well within her brain to sign the contract. And she's not a bad looking woman. So if she wanted to get pregnant, I'm sure she could have had a plethora of dudes to do that. Not really sure why she wanted to sell her womb for this. That in and of itself is weird to me, unless you are like a close friend of the family, which she was not. She's literally just doing this for money. So you were willing to go through a full situation, birth a child, and just hand them off for a check. But if they decide that they don't want to have the child, now you want to have an issue with that. Now, I'm far from believing that this is a moral outcry. You were selling your womb in the first place. So morality is kind of out the window here, just a little bit, right? But what I'm not understanding is, if this is the case, how can we complain when my body, my choice has been like the freaking mantra for years, and it's her body? Even at the end of the day, are we going to force a woman to do something that she doesn't want to do with her body? That has been a discussion for years, and we've decided that you can't. After plenty of protests and discussions, we have decided it is her body, her choice, at least for right now, until they try something different. But for right now, that's what it is, right? So what she's probably going to do, this is what I think she's going to do. I think she'll locate herself in a state that has already said you can't do that. And then they won't be legally bound to do so, because they'd have to break federal law to do it. If she's smart. She looks like she's not an idiot. She actually looks like a pretty well-rounded woman. That's why I don't understand why she's selling her womb to strangers. That's like, what the hell are you thinking? Give me that check. It's rough out here, guys. It's rough out here. When beautiful women are selling their wombs to the highest bidder to carry their baby, not even just just put their stuff in there because we can't do it ourselves. And this is not some ugly chick doing this. This is actually a pretty beautiful woman. I like her hair, like her little glasses and stuff. But she's going through a time in life where she said, you know what, I'm going to sell out my womb. I can't pay these bills, or whatever the situation is that was going on in her head, because she didn't know these people. So that means there is also a business to this. That means there is a person that is basically like a broker for babies, a baby broker that sells wombs. You sign up on the womb list, and then the broker finds people that have womb issues, I guess, and they decide that, hey, we got this lady. Because I believe the parents were like Asian or something. And if I'm an Asian person, I don't want to take my chances just putting the baby in the brown person. There's going to be some transfer of DNA. You're going to come out with like a black Asian kid, Blasian kid, which isn't bad. I've seen some Blasians. They look awesome. But that might not be what they want. So I'm a little concerned about how did they match with this woman? Like, how did that even happen? What is there, a website? You know, wombs will work for wombs, or whatever the hell we're going to call it. I don't understand how any of this came to be, but at the end of the day, the question is this: does she have the right to not have an abortion when the child inside her is technically not hers, but that procedure would be performed on her, when she was already willing to give up that child at the end anyway? It is an interesting conflict, guys. I don't know which side to lay on this one, because she was already willing to give up the baby in the first place. Whether it was to mortality or just to this family, she wasn't going to have that baby around. And she was already okay with that. So this is what I believe. I believe that to some degree, not finishing this procedure will not get her no money. So if they take the baby out now, before the baby is born, she probably does not get something. This is all perspective and opinion and imagination, but I can only imagine that any deal like that would be like a down payment, and then you get the rest when the baby come out, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? So if there's no baby at the end, I would imagine you will not get the full payment. Not saying this woman's hungry for money. I'm just saying that this incentive could be a reason that she wants the baby to still go full term anyway, because she's already halfway there. A little bit more than halfway there. She's already showing, but she's not going to have the baby anyway. So it's not some regular motherly love thing. You know, this is not regular to me. So y'all going to have to tell me how y'all feel about it. Me personally, I think that there's a check involved in actually having a live birth versus, ending this situation early. And I think at this point, she's like, no, I want all my money. So it's not my fault that y'all put in swimmers that couldn't swim too well, or eggs that couldn't egg that well. Not her fault. But for them to try to say, well, you didn't have the baby, so we're not paying you, $100,000 or whatever. What was it that they paid her? It doesn't say what they paid her, but they're suing her for over $100,000. So they had to start at $100,000. So I will say this. The fact that this lady is getting all of this press, and we're not going to talk about the fact, we got two things here. We got my body, my choice, right? You got that. And then you've got the fact that she was going to give up the baby anyway. And she's not like a teenager. She's a grown-ass woman. So her capability of taking care of a child, I mean, she might not be able to, but she doesn't look like she would be able to. Like, she looks like she could probably deal with some things. And I don't know if she's got a man. I'm hoping that she doesn't. I'm hoping, because that would be crazy if I was her man and she's just selling out her womb. Like, it's that rough. The bills is high. And your woman comes to you and says, you know what, baby, I'm thinking of renting out a womb. And you'd be like, what do you mean, renting out a room in the house? No, renting out a womb in my body. And then you a dude and you got to sit by and deal with her pregnancy issues and all of the pains and moods and all, and it's not even your baby. Now, I'm sure some people would enjoy that. Be like, well, at the end, we get the check and then we can go back through life as usual. But me personally, no, I wouldn't want my lady to do that. But women, please tell me, is this the thing now? Are we going to now go to this? We're just going to rent out the wombs again? Freeze the eggs, rent out the wombs, and do what? still be single mamas, just you can sell the baby as soon as it's born? That's sad to me. We've done a lot more with technology. I don't think we need to be renting out wombs anymore. I think they could come up with a little scientific bag that they just put the ingredients in to shake that joint up, and the little guys go swimming, and they do what they do. Let God do the rest, as they would say. But me personally, I don't side with this lady because the first thing she was about to do was give up the child anyway and was selling out her womb. So morally, I'm already kind of like iffy on this lady. And she's not fooling me by being pretty. You know, I'm just being honest. You weren't really about that baby like that in the first place. That's why you was renting out your womb. You weren't saving it for your own children. You were giving it to strangers for a check. So excuse me if I don't believe you had the moral high ground in this situation. But I do also get and understand that you may not want to unalive that child, but I don't think it's for the reasons that most people would think. Most people would think it's because you got some like motherly instinct thing and you're just feeling it and you're like, oh my God, I just want this my baby. But I don't think that's what it is. I think you just get paid differently if that process doesn't go all the way to the end. And there may have been some clause in that contract about it that we don't know about. And I will consider the fact that there is a possibility that this is some bullshit. Yeah, I'll consider it. She got up on Megyn Kelly and everything. Like, how did, you know what I'm saying? These stories that happen in a hospital, all of a sudden they're national news. Isn't that against HIPAA? You know what I'm saying? Isn't that against HIPAA policy to have all this information about this situation? I don't know. Maybe I live in an upside down world, and I think I do. Because I live in a world where surrogates are the moral high ground, and institutions that were historically racist are now being told that they're being racist against whites and Asians. This is upside down, bizarre world. It really is. It has become that. So, nonetheless, I can't, my bot's not working. My bot is supposed to, like, play. There it goes. There you go. Where's the other one at? Where's the most recent one, bot? It's not. There it goes. All right. Shouts to DM Hall for the more recent subscribe. And shouts to the folks over on the Twitch side that's pulling up as well. Now, let's keep this thing going because I don't have all night. I don't. And that was a lot. Wow, they really... Let me tell you what, the way that this show is put together is a mixture of AI and like Google Trends and stuff that's on X. It's a whole situation. It compiles information based on the trends of all the sites. So let's say you got Google Trends, you got X, you got Reddit, you got all of these things, right? It will find all of the things that are trending and then try to figure out which trending issues make the most sense to talk about together and string together. I don't know how this next one came to be, but it's probably because this show had covered this particular person before, and maybe there was a thought that it would be a good conversation now. But you guys may not know, but this lady, the next lady, is or used to be a congresswoman, and she decided to like come to the internet. And I was not a big fan of her. She got the dude, Eric Dyson, I think his name is. She got him in trouble because he was trying to flirt with her a little bit too hard. She wasn't feeling that shit. And, you know, got him in trouble with his wife. He shouldn't have done it. I'm not saying he should have done that, but she ain't had to do all that. You know what I'm saying? She ain't had to do all that. They didn't do nothing. You know, maybe he was talking shit. He might have been. Who knows? But they didn't do nothing. But anyway, we're talking about one Nancy Mace. Let's talk about Miss Mace. All right, so apparently Nancy Mace came away from being in Congress, and now she's losing. Now, I'm not going to say she's losing her mind. She's going all out. She was already known for kind of being sort of a firecracker in this thing. You know, she's very big on the whole women's movement, and I mean more like, you know, women's sports, not having biological males in women's spaces. That's been like her thing. And it kind of got her in trouble because there's a lot of mixed feelings about whether or not we should be allowing that. And I don't really agree with Nancy Mace about a lot of things, but that one thing, and she stood 10 toes down on it, for that, she has earned a general purge of the BS applause. She has, okay? Just letting y'all know. And that's it. That's it. Because now that she's out of Congress, just like everybody does, now she's over in the podcast space. And I said when I was mentioning this before that I thought she would do well, at least at first. You know, once people get over the curiosity, maybe it won't do as well. But this lady's been talking a lot of shit. And so she has now figured out that most Americans are somewhat stupid, unfortunately. And it's based on the education system and poor parenting, whatever you want to do. But it is true. And she decides to get online and tell the country the difference between socialism and communism, and she's going viral for her response. I don't know if it's worth virality, and I think it's only because she just recently came to the podcast space. So she's talking hellish shit right now. She might run out of stuff in a little bit. But for right now, she's popping, okay? In the mountains of Caucasus, she is popping right now.
So this morning, I want to do a primer on socialism versus communism, because I really don't think the Democratic Socialists of America candidates or members actually know the difference. And I remember when my children were growing up, they were in elementary school, and they had a lesson on capitalism versus socialism versus communism, and my head nearly exploded because the school was teaching children, indoctrinating them that socialism was the way to go. And this is a movement that started a long time ago in the United States of America. Now it is formalized on the ballot. It's here. It's not coming. It's here. Candidates are getting nominated. Candidates are winning. And nobody saw this coming. But if you look back, you know, I had kids in elementary school 10 years ago, they were getting this shit shoved down their throat. So this morning, we're going to go over what the difference is. And if socialism works, why does every socialist country need a wall? And why does the wall always face in? Every wall a communist country ever built was to keep its own people from leaving. East Germany didn't build the Berlin Wall.
All right, before she continues, I'm going to say this. I don't hate what she's saying so far. Like, I see where she's about to go, and let's see how her explanations are. And maybe she's just being informative, because she can be quite the biatch. I've seen a few clips of her. But there's a lot of people down Congress that can be biatches at times. And if you catch them in the right spot, right clip, right time, yeah, you're going to see it. I'm not saying you need to be voting for her or trying to support her or whatever. No, I'm just saying I'm not mad at her yet. Okay? And you shouldn't be either. Just because she's pasty is no reason to be upset. It's not your fault. Might not be her fault either. We don't know. It's genetics.
Stop West Germans from sneaking in for food.
Okay.
Think about why that is. And then ask yourself why the people telling you this socialist system is the future. It's so good. Never ever bring it up. All right, so today I'm going to explain the difference between socialism and communism. And I'm throwing a little capitalism because apparently we have a lot of socialists who are communists and don't know the difference. And we're going to use pizza. Everybody loves a slice of pizza. I'm qualified to teach this class because unlike most economists, I've actually worked at a register at the Waffle House. I've seen the economy at 3 a.m. It's not pretty, but it's honest and it shows up even when you don't want to every night, or in this case, every morning. In capitalism, you own the pizza shop. You have grandma's recipe. You bought your own oven. You signed the lease. You negotiated the lease before you signed it. And if you have good pizza, that means your customers come back for more. You get rich. There's a line of customers every day at the pizza shop, and they come back and they tell their friends. If you have bad pizza, you're gone. You go broke. Somebody better takes your corner. Customer dictates the outcome because that's the free market. The customer is ruthless. They really want good pizza. You know how I know capitalism works? Because nobody's ever swum to Cuba. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Sometimes a pizza guy gets too big for his britches or goes broke buying stupid things. But the answer to one bad pizza guy is that good customers leave. You get a better pizza shop because the government's not taking everybody's ovens. A new guy comes in and takes over and creates a new operation, hopefully better than the last one, is more successful. They learn from competition in the market because there's multiple pizza shops on every corner. Under socialism, the government now owns the pizza shop, not regulates, not taxes, owns the ovens, the dough, the sauce, the recipe, the tables, the real estate, and grandma's recipe. That's the actual definition. It means government ownership of the means of production. and they hold on to it because the definition is the first thing they'll try to take from you. They're doing it right now. They're changing our words. They're doing it all over the place in the definition of meaning and words. The pitch sounds amazing. Free slice for everybody. But here's the thing they'll never explain to you, and I want you to really hear this. The office fridge, that's the example of socialism. Everything in the office fridge belongs to everybody, right? If that were the case. So how does the office fridge look? And what slice of pizza do you get, or do you get one? That's a country under socialism. And when the pizza runs out, and it always runs out, the government doesn't apologize. It gives you a long bread line. That's socialism's true product, not equality, the bread line. So take a look at Venezuela. Venezuela is sitting on the largest oil reserves on planet Earth. And they have somehow produced a line for toilet paper. Do you understand how hard this is to do? That's like drowning in a desert. It takes real commitment. Now, we get to communism. Now, here's where it gets dark. So let's do it with a smile and maybe, a cup of coffee this morning. But communism is what socialism promises it's building toward. The brochure says no classes, no money, eventually no government. Everybody just shares forever voluntarily, even with the murderer down the street. You've been in a group project, and I don't have to finish this paragraph, but watch the mechanics because it's the very same way every time. No exceptions, 10 out of 10 attempts for everyone to share everything. Someone has to collect everything first. So the state takes it. They take it all, the farm, the factory, the shop, grandma's China, grandma's recipe for pizza, real estate, everything.
I mean, she's not lying.
The people doing the collecting, they need power to stay in charge. And
she's not lying.
They need all of it. And here's the point of the whole thing. The government that's supposed to wither away has actually never withered. It gets a secret police, a parade budget with fancy uniforms, and a wall. That wall is facing in. 100 million dead, and that's a century's receipt. The Soviet Union proved it. Mao, Cambodia, North Korea, China. You get the point. And that is exactly the point.
Okay, Nancy Mace. All right, Nancy. Well, Nancy has earned an applause. I know it's hard for some. She stuck to the point. That's why I'm giving her the applause. Because she be saying some wild stuff. But in this particular case, if you don't understand what the difference of these things is, she did try to explain it. We live in a capitalistic society. We blame everything on government, but most of the stuff isn't the government. Most of the things that we have issues with, especially like pricing, has to do with private industry. That's why the government has to put caps on the costs of certain things, pharmaceuticals and things like that, is because it's all private. So unless they make it against a rule for private industries to do this, they'll just do what they do. So I appreciate Nancy for coming out here and explaining this to the people. I appreciate at least that. What I will say is she has a thought that no one even knows what this stuff means. And I'll be honest with you, I was pretty well versed on all of these things that she just explained. Now, she used a pretty simple metaphor. She used pizza, but it's because she believes that most of the population is only able to digest something if there's a food reference. And I don't think she's wrong about that. Like I said, she's not my fave. I'm not really a big fan. Not at all. I knew as soon as she was getting out of Congress, I was like, oh, God, here she's coming over to the podcast space. Now I got to deal with her. Everybody comes over. Not everybody succeeds. She might, because she's always talking anyway. So this might be a good space for her. And we'll see what other topics she covers. But as a person who was previously in Congress, I need them to tell us more about what's going on in actual Congress. Why you couldn't do nothing while you was down there. I mean, you started some stuff. You wrote a few bills, but why at the end you couldn't do nothing? You were more effective when you were there. Now you're here just on the podcast space on YouTube and stuff just like me. I don't think you have the same influence from that seat. Just saying. But I will say this. The fact that she thinks that we don't understand the basics of these different types of thought processes and different government types, I want to say it's some bullshit, but unfortunately, that's not no bullshit. And that's the truth. Some of us don't give a damn. We just live here. Make sure that you hit the like button. I'm going to say that. I'm saying it because it's the thing you got to say anyway. And before we get into our main topic of the night, we got to finish up finalizing our political segment here, because we're in political segment here. Have you guys heard of the Stop Nick Shirley Act? Anybody heard of that? I didn't know about it. And it's not, you know how they always nickname a damn act and It's not really the act. Like, the act is something totally different, but they always nickname it something cool or something they think is cool or something that's more impactful words-wise. So they called this particular act the Nick Shirley Act. And apparently the Nick Shirley Act is an act that makes it illegal to capture on video government fraud or government illegal activities and post them online. Notice the second part. It's not necessarily illegal to film it. It's illegal to film it and post it online. So what are you supposed to do with it if you don't post it online? You're supposed to send it to TMZ or CNN, then they post it online. So are you going to take them to jail? I don't think so. So let's find out about this stupid ass Nick Shirley Act, because it sounds like more bullshit to me, but we're going to find out. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we got here. All right. Special shouts again to Ascending for staying up in the sponsorship box up on the side over here. Let me see. It's over here this way. Bang, right there. Sponsorship box for our vertical feed on YouTube, since that is where the super chat came from. And any super chats, $20 or over, you will get a sponsorship badge placed in the episode that you're in, and it will remain there until somebody else does the same thing. So that is how we're doing it over here. And don't forget, we do have goals, because I want to do a live call-in show. I feel like this might be fun, but I'm also worried that I might get trolls on the phone, and it'll be a whole bunch of wild trolls, which could also be fun. We'll see. But let's talk about this Nick Shirley Act, or at least let him.
Very interesting connections with her husband being an attorney of California. Their goal as a family should be to prosecute and take care and make sure that there is so little fraud in the state that they can have such a peaceful night of sleep. However, while the Attorney General is supposed to be prosecuting fraud, his wife is creating laws to let fraud continue. They're specifically saying that NGOs who receive money based off immigrant services don't have to disclose their money. And so we know that they use those services to commit fraud. Very interesting connection.
All right. Well, we get what he's talking about. He's talking about one particular case, but we know what's going on with the particular act. And my question is simple. Should it be illegal to post government fraud online? I believe that I can sum up the act, the Nick Shirley Act, in one sound alone. Yeah, that's how I feel about that. Because of course you don't want them to post it online, because you don't want to be seen committing fraud. And online, the second things get online and go viral, you can't stop it. And then you have to try to stop the narrative that comes behind it. So I'm going to tell you right now, the government is on some goofy shit. And we need to stop letting this go on. They come up with these stupid acts and bills and all this kind of stuff, and we all know it's not right. The news people, you see all of them, they know it's not right. Nick Shirley's on here. He knows it ain't right. Everybody knows it ain't right except the people that write the shit. And that's my problem. Everybody seems to have common sense except the people that need to have common sense. Everyone seems to be in agreement except the people that are in agreement or need to be in agreement. And so they just go down to these legislative houses, they enact laws, and everybody's like, what the hell was that? So my question is simple. Why do we even trust these particular lawmakers when they keep making things that don't make sense? That doesn't make sense. You can't tell me it's against the law to tell on the government if I see them doing some goofy shit. But that's what they have technically done here. 2 independent journalists. Now, that's why I'm saying if you send it to TMZ or CNN or one of the paid places that's paid to put out certain stories, then you're okay. But if you put it out on your own platform, on YouTube or Instagram, TikTok, one of those, that's what you'll get arrested for. Are you kidding me? That's really what they really took the time in legislation to come up with that. And then we just sit around and just let it happen. I'm not letting it happen, but it's not my state. I can't say anything about it, but I'm just saying, is there no one ever around to speak the voice of reason that they actually listen to? I've seen these clips where somebody will go in front of a board and they give them 5 minutes to talk and they say some poignant, profound shit. And then the board says, all right, well, let's take a vote. And they still vote the same way that they were going to vote anyway, because lobbyists and different organizations have already paid for them to do that. We're not outnumbered. We're out-financed. And that's its own problem. So I don't know how we're going to get past shit like that. Because even when we don't like something, there's a group of people that can put these things into play. And they don't really have to ask us. They ask us once every couple of years, and that's where they get the votes from. And then they go down there and do whatever the hell they want to do. And then we're asking why the whole time, and why'd they do that, and what was that about? Because we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know who's pulling the strings, as they would say. We don't know who's paying for what. We don't know which organizations made it down to the governor's office to have a face-to-face meeting about some permit that they needed. Like, we don't know. The only thing we know is that this stuff don't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Like, why are we doing that? And I think we all know the reason why we're doing it. We're doing it because that is all additional, goofy, distractional bullshit. Simple. Now, since we're going to get into our actual conversation here, we're going to set the stage appropriately to let you know that we are in bizarre world. That's all I'm going to say. I grew up in a world where people were concerned with racism against black people and minorities in general, but mostly black people. They were concerned with it because I was born in a time where it was not the civil rights movement. It was literally after it. You know what I'm saying? So it was like the first generation after the bullshit was what I'm part of. And that is its own, I'm not going to call it a psyop, but we'll call it an experiment. Because we don't know exactly how far things will go once these walls are out the way. So my generation was the first one to really get into it. Actually, it was a little before me, but we was the first that was like full on, we supposed to be good, right? So affirmative action came out. And when affirmative action came out, it was, at the time, it was very necessary. So over time, they have now decided that affirmative action is no longer necessary. I'm not really sure why they made that decision, but that's what they're saying. They don't need to use numbers anymore. What they need to use now, and shouts to Celia James for the follow on YouTube, but what they need to use now is these racially mutual metrics, as they call it. And we're going to get into that in 1 second, but I need y'all to check out the clip first regarding the DOJ charges against Duke Law. All right, let's check this out. Oh, I'm not even able to see the topic. Okay, hold on a second here. All right, Duke Law. Sorry, guys, my script just found its way to be off the screen for a minute. There we go. All right, let's hear the story.
Welcome back. Duke University is being accused of unlawfully considering race in admissions. The Justice Department claims the university is using, quote, diversity essay questions to identify the preferred race for their admissions. Affirmative action in college admissions has been illegal since a 2023 Supreme Court ruling. The same ruling said colleges could continue to assess how applicants' backgrounds might speak to broader characteristics.
All right, joining us now, our chief legal analyst.
Let's talk about this.
What Annie just said right there, how their background might apply. I mean, when you write these essays, right, if you're talking about how you've been brought up, your culture and all that, is that considered now inadmissible? Should that not be added? Break this down for us, what they've determined here with these essays.
Well, the 2023 case said that you couldn't use race as a determining factor.
Right.
But Justice Roberts, who wrote the opinion for the court, said that you may write an essay and describe your life experiences. And if race played a part in that, you may do that as well. And then when the institutions decide to give you credit for that essay, it can't be because of the race, but it has to be because of the experience. So you're even if your experience involves race.
Right.
A little bit of a circle, but it's saying that if I was before the 2023 ruling giving you credit because of your racial experience alone, that would have been something that's outlawed. But let me hit on a couple things and take us back historically. African American admissions to law school was something that was outlawed for a number of years. I mean, there was something called reading into the law. Do you understand what that meant? That meant you couldn't go to law school, so you had to go get an apprentice. That one or two black attorneys you found in the country, study under them, and then you would take the bar because you couldn't go to law school. And then after Reconstruction and the Civil War, African Americans started going into law schools. But it was much, much later that law schools in the South specifically started admitting African Americans. Brown v. Board of Education happened in the 50s. Duke didn't admit an individual that was African American until 1961. So we're talking about not a long time of African Americans being admitted into law schools. There was never in this country a quota system of admitting African American students. Prior to 2023's decision, what you could do was that you could have an intent to ensure that you had a diverse student base and use race as a decision-making factor. But you couldn't say, I want to ensure that I have 47 black students at my school. That's never been allowed in the history of the admissions of law schools, never could be. But what could be was the intent to ensure that you had a diverse base.
So now you can't intend.
The Supreme Court said, listen, if your intent to ensure that the base is diverse, that's something that you can't do. But the outcomes, if the outcomes are still there and they're still occurring, that's something that the court cannot describe, or I should say remove.
All right, so what do you see happening next here?
I see that the Supreme Court's words are going to be used against them, and this is going to be one that I hate to say it, is going to backfire on the Trump administration's attempt to dismantle or remove race from academics. And I can tell you why. You have to look at the Voting Rights Act case that Justice Alito just penned. I want to say at the end of last year or earlier this year. In that opinion, Justice Alito said a couple of things. When they were talking about was the Voting Rights Act something that was allowed and required, Justice Alito said, well, you guys have not showed me one time intent. He said, you're showing me all these outcomes. And he said, that's great. But if you don't show me intent, none of that matters. Basically making the Voting Rights Act irrelevant, right? Fast forward to this case. Look at what the Department of Justice said. Black and Hispanic applicants admitted at higher rates. During the 2024-2025 admission cycle, the median LSAT scores of rejected white and Asian applicants were higher. What they don't say in any of this is intent.
How do you even go
so
about
all they're
proving
showing is
that,
outcomes.
Though? How would you even go about proving that?
This is so goofy.
Letters.
You'd have to explicitly say, though.
Yeah, they'd have to be in a meeting.
Race, right?
They'd have to be in a meeting saying, we want to ensure that we have more African American students here, or we want to not moving from the quota portion. Even if they said this year we had 2%, we'd like to have 3% next year. That'd be a violation of the 2023 Supreme Court ruling. Finding some smoking gun like that is going to be near impossible. And again, I'll point to what the DOJ said. Not one of the things they mentioned was we found allegations of intent. All you found was allegations of outcomes. And guess what? The Supreme Court just said you can't use outcomes as a determining factor. So their own language that they've used to dismantle the Voting Rights Act will actually defend the very thing they're now trying to tear down.
Interesting. All right.
That is interesting.
All right, so immediately, what happens next?
Duke will respond and they'll do their research and say, okay, you showed us these percentages and statistics, but now show us the intent. And unless there's some secret hidden meeting, unless there's some Zoom recording of them, writing these numbers down and looking for them to be increased. And let me put the percentages that we're talking about, right? In law school admissions, there's 7.6% African-American first years, 7.8% overall African-Americans. So we're not talking about some drastic shift.
That's what I was talking about.
90+% admissions. No, actually it declined after 2023. Some law schools this year admitted no African-Americans at all. That's some of the things that have happened in the wake of the 2023 ruling. While the Department of Justice doesn't go after statistics, their goal is to ensure that you have compliance. So what's next is Duke will respond. But if they can't show intent, I think this one sits still.
Okay.
All right. Thank you again, our chief.
All right. Well, shouts to the young black man. Where's he at? This guy. Shouts to him because he put it together and he let you know not much to worry about here, nothing to see here. Got you. Okay. So let's have this real conversation here. This is a conversation based on people thinking that white and Asian students are being racially mistreated by organizations admitting black students that they say are less qualified. But as this gentleman said, if the intent is very specific to race, then that's against the law. But if you put it in metrics, right? If you just say low income family, that is not racially based. But what will happen is you'll find that more of one race will fall into that category. It doesn't knock everybody else out, because some people will fall into that category of other races. So this is the problem. So instead of looking for race specifically, now they're looking for things like your experience as your diverse experiences coming up. They'll know if you're from an urban area. They'll know from your name, if your name is Sharkeisha or something. They know that you're black. They just can't say that that's the reason they're admitting you. And it shouldn't just be that. It should have some other things to go on, which it seems like it does. Affirmative action was looked at as a lazy way of dealing with things. It was just raw numbers. We need 5% of this race enrolled. We need this number of people in this particular group, but they have to be of this race. We need this balance. We need this. We need that. And how are you planning on balancing a nation that's already 75% white people? That means at best you're looking at getting 10 to 12% of black people into any institution at that same time. And as this guy's talking about, we're not talking about no community colleges here. We're talking about law schools. So even if they are letting in a certain segment of black students, this is not the stupid ones. These are probably well-deserving students that may have come from a lower income area or a lower income family, or they might be first generation college, whatever the situation is. But for them to not be allowed to have the opportunity and that opportunity be considered unlawful, that sounds crazy to me. Do you know why they had affirmative action? They had affirmative action because they weren't letting black people into certain things. They were not letting minorities into certain things. You got to remember, affirmative action was just after the 60s. So what was going on in the 50s and 60s? We had the whole Jim Crow civil rights movement. We had all that going on. So it just happened. It really just happened. The people that took advantage of actual affirmative action, most of them are still alive. Like the original folks that took advantage of that. Not the original folks that desegregated the country per se. But when it came to colleges, affirmative action was like a thing. And so they took that away. And they said that any idea that has to do that bases things on race is racist, and we can't have it. For the same reason they attacked the African or American History Museum for having the image of the slave with all of the lashes on his back. You know, like they've been doing stuff to try to gut American history. And one of the reasons that one of the ways that they can gut American history is by making us think that none of these things were needed in the first place. Affirmative action was necessary. Y'all know why it was necessary. And we know most of the people who started the reasons why it's been necessary are still here. So removing it just gave them an opportunity to do some goofy shit. And now you're mad because some other people figured out a way around the same goofy shit, just in the opposite. Oh, we can't say race? Okay, we'll look for Pell Grant recipients. Why? Because the Pell Grant is a financially available grant for people who have lower income. And if you go with income just itself, 9 times out of 10, depending on what city you're in, what areas you're in, but if if you're looking the way I'm looking, you're going to find more black people in that area. So for them, that allows them to still find those black applicants through a different means and metric. And now Asians and white people are calling that racist. So what do you want, guys? What do you want, guys? Because that sounds like some bullshit to me. Let me bring it over here, full mass. Hold up. Because we need to talk about this. And the reason why it was so interesting to me is because this is the post-affirmative action world. This is the first, 3 years ago was when they took it off the books. So we're just now getting to see the result of these decisions from a couple of years ago. And the question is simple. Like, what happens when you say, all right, we're not looking at race. Instead, we're looking at family income, first-generation college status, educational opportunity that they had the opportunity to get, personal experiences, diversity of perspective, and all of these things are legitimate. They're all legitimate. But here's the question. Do the metrics from these things still produce the same general outcome? And if they do, is that actually a problem? I will answer yes to the first question. It does produce generally the same outcome. But I will go with the second part to say it's not a problem. It's not like y'all all of a sudden seeing, like the guy said, there's not like all of a sudden there's a 90% swing and now all black people are getting accepted to things and no white people are. That's not what happened. Numbers wise, if you want to be honest, the numbers are about the same. Nothing changed. And that's the problem. That's what they have an issue with. They have an issue with the fact that nothing changed. And they figured that if they changed affirmative action, that there would be a notable metric change, demographic change would follow behind it. But the universities didn't get with their shit. The universities just said, all right, we'll just use some different metrics that will most likely lead us to the same group. And then we'll just say that that's what we're picking from. So if you want it to be equal, then give us more broke white people. And they might be in the same boat. And now we can deal with that. But if your family has this amount of money and this family doesn't, and they have a Pell Grant and you paying out of pocket from your rich family, y'all are not looked at the same. And only because, and this is what I'm saying, only because they didn't see a significant change in the amount of black people still admitted is what they're upset about. So tell me you didn't want black people to get an education without telling me you didn't want the black people to get the education. Because that's what happened. We're not talking about an overthrow here. Nothing changed. So that means the universities, which are full of educated people, found a way around the bullshit. So they could, quote unquote, comply and still receive their federal money and not be against the rules that you set forth. I think they did a good job, and I think it was slick as shit. So I'm going to go ahead and give the universities an applause. Yeah. Because I get it. I get it. But there was a time in American history when racial discrimination was explicitly built into college institutions. There were universities that literally excluded people simply because they were black, never looked at their merits. So eventually the country says, all right, we can't keep doing this way. And so policies were created to try to correct the effects of that discrimination. And that's where affirmative action came from. So now let's fast forward a few decades, and now the argument becomes, wait a minute, if we're saying everybody's supposed to be equal under the law, why are we still considering race? So it's the reverse racism card. And that's a legitimate question. I get it. But here's my question right back. If a policy was created to correct past wrongs and past discrimination, when, if ever, should that policy end? And that's a real question. And I'll give you my answer. The policy should end when we actually do see things equal. I don't think we ever really got to that point. And that's why the argument became Black people have all the same opportunities. Black people have all of this. Why can't they just do the same thing? Because you started out not even letting them learn to read without trying to kill them. Did y'all ever have that problem? No. So the game is already offset. There's a handicap. That's the reason we needed affirmative action. And now you're crying. Now you're crying about the fact that they still found a way to admit people to college. They still found a way to offer opportunity. And you're mad at that. We're talking, have you checked the numbers for Duke Law admissions for black people? It is like 1%, if that. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if 1% of people get into Duke Law because they were 4.0 students, but they came from the hood, I'm not mad. And you should be mad at yourself for even being mad. Like, how much more do you want? That's what I keep saying. Like, what do y'all really want? You just want nobody to have an education. You don't want nobody admitted. You don't want nobody working. You want everybody deported. This is not realistic. We live in a place where we benefit from having more educated people, especially more educated people in different races, not just for the American way, but for the race itself. If you had a whole bunch of prominent black doctors that were always talked about and everybody was giving them accolades, then people would want to be like them for the same way that they want to be like professional athletes, basketball players. Special shouts to Siraj jumping in on the subscribe over there. But yeah, we have kids that want to be basketball players all the time. Why? Because that's all they see. So if all they saw was doctors, lawyers, and businessmen, they'd want to do that. So are we really saying that we have let too many people in? No, they're not saying that. What they're saying is they haven't stopped letting them in. And that's the problem. And that's my issue. Because you can make an argument that affirmative action should continue because we still haven't gotten to the point where the numbers are commensurate with what the actual demographic is of the United States. So it's not like you can go to every university and you'll have 74% white kids, 13% black kids, 2% Asian kids. It's just not like that. For instance, if we do not stop this kind of shit right here, okay? If we don't stop this kind of shit, let me tell you what's going to happen. All right? If you take this at face value of the law, right, on some goofy shit, then you could technically say that an HBCU is a racist institution. All of those black colleges who are considered historically black colleges and universities and who primarily only accept black applicants. Now, granted, that's because a lot of white people don't even know they can go there. And most of them don't want to. Why would you want to be the only white kid at the black place? I mean, that seems a little crazy to me, but you could still go. You can go. But what they're going to do next is they're going to say, you can't call something a historically black college or university. And we want you to have more white people here. So now so much for the historically black college or university. That is no more because it's racist to have a historically black college or university. Meanwhile, the universities of the country were historically white anyway, which is why affirmative action happened. At one point, they could just say no because you were black. Then you had to say yes despite it. And that ate them up for years, and they got mad about that. And they started feeling like, Ezekiel or whoever was being passed over for Tyrone from the block, which has never actually been the thing. And I can tell you, when you get out of high school, if you have a shitty GPA, it does not matter that you came from the hood. If you go trying to apply to Duke, they're going to say our requirements are that you have at least a 3.5. You've taken X amount of elective credits and you got both your parents available to sign your paperwork. And I said that last piece because I did have to deal with some things like that with my daughter when she was going to college because she had a 4-point-something GPA. So she had a lot of options. But some of those options would not allow her to even apply if both her parents did not sign certain paperwork. So if that's a requirement, imagine how many single parent households who might have brilliant children can't even have their children apply to certain places because they're a single parent household and they don't get along too well with the other parent. So if you use that as a metric, hey, both parents must sign this paper, then you will eventually, through metrics, end up with more black kids who do not get into the university because more black kids will come from the single parent situation where the parents don't get along. So this is the same kind of thought process. It's like if you put something in place that sounds one way, but you kind of know what direction it's going to go in, that's what they're doing. I don't think it's bad, but I think it's wrong for our Department of Justice to basically say to them that the reason why we're pressing these charges is because we haven't noticed less black people getting in. So something must be wrong. You must be doing something wrong if we didn't see less. So what that means is you expected to see less. You expected less. You expected less people to be successful, less people to be accepted, less people to get this opportunity. And that makes me sick. Because you're showing your hand at that point. You see what I'm saying? You're showing your hand. Because if it was just the same, then you'd be like, whatever, right? That would be the wanted outcome, is that there was no real change other than, we just changed the criteria, but we still have the same diverse group of people. That's what you should want. But that's not what happened. Or that is what happened. But they realized, no, we didn't want that to happen. We wanted less of them. So when less of them didn't happen, they said something must be wrong because we set it up so less of them would be available and be accepted by taking away affirmative action. We have a set of sick people running this shit. They're that sick. They're that sick that they were just waiting to see more failures and more people not get opportunity. And when they didn't, they said that was wrong. That was wrong. So now they said, well, everything's supposed to be on merit. So let's talk about merit real quick before we get out of here. We should have merit-based admissions. Okay. What exactly does that mean? Is merit just your GPA? Is it just your SAT score, your LSAT score, the difficulty of your classes? Were you in AP classes versus regular classes? Like if you're in AP classes and you get a 2.5, but you got all AP English, AP math, AP everything, right? But you only getting a 2.5, 2.8. And then some other kid has all regular classes, no APs, and is getting a 3.5 to 4.0 GPA. Who should get preferential treatment? In my world, the AP kid would, because they're obviously used to dealing with more challenge. But if you're just basing it on numbers, the kid in the regular classes with the 4.0 gets it. Very confusing, as you can see. So they tried to put it into essays. So they ask about, like, why am I the best? Why are you the best person for us to enroll this year? And a lot of those stories will have to do with overcoming things. So they'll mention, I overcame, my dad used to get drunk and beat the shit out of my mom, and whatever the situation is. And it normally leads to the empathy. And empathy comes with those situations that normally seem to lead to urban children. And most of the urban children happen to be black. So it just takes you back to the same start point. So the real question is, why are we trying to get rid of it so bad as if a takeover happened? If the only thing that happened was we just didn't see less. And if you have a problem with that, maybe there's a different conversation you should be having with yourself. But apparently that thought process is not just limited to regular citizens. Our Department of Justice literally thinks the same. And if our Department of Justice is mad because universities did not accept less black students in the last 2 or 3 years as they thought they would, then it's obvious what they're trying to do. It's obvious. They don't want everybody to be equal. They don't. And when they saw that something didn't change, when they intended on some negative outcome, they sued the people that didn't give them the negative outcome they were looking for. This is actually crazy with me. You know, it's crazy to me because back in the day, it was the students that came from the wealthy households had all the opportunity, and that's why they had to come up with grants and all these different scholarships, and you got to fill out the scholarship paper, and that in and of itself is a problem. For instance, if you wanted like a McDonald's scholarship, right? There's no guarantee you're going to get it, but you can apply for it. But guess what? The application costs money. It's not free. So you pay money to apply. You may not even get that money that you're applying for, and these institutions get that money. It's a really screwed up game, yo. It's a really screwed up game. So now they're talking about we need to use what they call race mutual metrics. And this is what we've been talking about all night, is these race neutral metrics is what they call it, race mutual. And because they're talking about the metrics that don't necessarily contain race. Family income as a metric doesn't necessarily say black, but a lower income normally happens to black families. So if that's part of the idea, then it will still lead you to the same general area. Educational opportunity doesn't say black, but more often than not, black kids are in school systems that don't offer the same educational opportunity. So if you're looking for kids who didn't have certain educational opportunities, that's going to lead you back to the black. Okay, overcoming adversity. And I'm mentioning these because they're actual metrics that they're using right now. Overcoming adversity doesn't say black, but more often than not, if you ask people their stories and you ask who's overcome more, you're probably going to land on black kids again. So can something be considered race neutral on paper, like those topics, and still produce the same race conscious results in practice? Absolutely. And that doesn't automatically mean it's wrong. But it's very important to understand that the correlation doesn't actually automatically equal discrimination. It's just what happens if you use these metrics. And so whose problem is that? If they say we'll give consideration to low income students, that doesn't mean you have to be black to qualify. It means you have to be low income. So if you happen to be rich and white, that's not you. Sorry. But there are benefits to you as rich and white that you may not have found yet. Everybody's got these benefits, but now they're mad at the benefit of being low income. But it says if that metric produces a different racial distribution, how could we have a different conversation? So what they're saying is if the metric produces something different, then we can have a different conversation. But because it continued to produce the same thing, then it must be wrong. And it's like, what are we doing here? Are you actually evaluating the economic disadvantage as a thing, or you're just using economic disadvantage to lead you back to the same group of people that you had before? I would say this. I think that they are evaluating economic disadvantage, and it naturally comes back to a certain demographic group. The reason why these things were put in place is for that. So you haven't done enough to the black population. You haven't kept them broke enough that they couldn't get opportunity. You haven't knocked out enough ratios that they can't get admitted to colleges. And like I said, the next thing they're going to do is they're going to go ahead and try to say that historically black colleges and universities are racist as well. Because they're using other race neutral metrics. I'll give you one more. The first generation, college first generation question. So we know a lot of white people are, years and generations of college educated people versus a first generation college kid whose family, nobody else in the family has gone to college, normally will lead you back to an immigrant or a black person. You see what I'm saying? Somebody who immigrated to the country, their family was, foreign, they were poor, whatever they were overseas. They came over, got a little business, never graduated college though. But this is where I'm gonna poke the bear a little bit. Does being a first generation college kid make you a better candidate? Or does having your parents be college kids before you make you a better college student? I don't know. But if your parents went to college, does that make you less deserving? Nope. If your parents went to college, did your GPA become less impressive? No. Did your SAT scores somehow become worth less? No. So what we're really saying is the accomplishment of each person is evaluated within the context of their circumstances. And again, that's probably reasonable. But we're not just measuring achievement. And so the term merit is achievement plus context. So like I said, you got the kid in the AP classes, you got the kid in the regular classes. The regular class kid is getting a 4.0, the AP class kid is getting a 2.8, just below a B, right? Who do you think is more deserving of the higher education? I personally would go with the AP kid, but in some other places, if you want to be fair, as they say, then you would have to go with the kid that just has the higher GPA, unless you add context. So it's almost impossible to do this without ending up racially, not saying motivated, ending up with some racial lines. You see what I'm saying? You're going to get there eventually if you use these same racial metrics or non-racial metrics. The problem is, I don't believe that any metric currently that they're using is non-racial based, or not. It won't lead you to a race. You do family income in either direction, high income, low income. You do high income, you're going to probably find more white families. You do lower income, you're going to probably find more black families. But it will lead you to something every time. So it's disingenuous to think that naturally these metrics won't lead you to something. But it's bullshit to think that when they lead you to what you think they would naturally lead you to, that that's now a problem. We should want opportunity for people who are of low income, and it doesn't matter if they're black or white. That's the issue. If it was a bunch of poor white people probably wouldn't care. So the bigger question is very simple. Can there ever be a truly racially equal admissions process in a country that's not racially equal? And that's a hell of a question. And I know that's a question that's going to get me in trouble, but ask it one more time. Can there ever be a truly racially equal admissions process in a country that's not racially equal? If you say everybody gets treated the same, then somebody else can say, well, that's not really right because everybody didn't start from the same place. So they can't all be treated the same because they're not all the same. Then you say, well, let's account for people's circumstances. And they'll say, well, wait a minute. Now you're giving consideration to different people. You're being specific. That's against the rules. And around and around and around we go. And that's where we are right now. So it's like you can't offer an opportunity because they're going to say it's unfair for that opportunity to be available to somebody because every opportunity is supposed to be available to everyone. But the reason why that particular opportunity is being made available to that particular person is because historically it was not. And if you try to bring up the history argument, then they'll say, get over that. That was a long time ago. Yes, that was a long time ago. But you know what wasn't a long time ago? Chud the fucking Builder, who came out there talking all that goofy shit, and a lot of y'all stood right by him and said, First Amendment. And I told y'all, we don't get down like that. I don't care what race you are. If you walk out in the street talking crap to people, I don't like you. And I don't care if you're white, black, or anything. But a lot of y'all Caucasian folks were like, yay, Chud the Builder. But if Chud the Builder was a black dude walking around old white people saying all types of crazy shit, y'all would want him strung up from a tree. So let's just be honest here. That was some bullshit. And y'all stood by and supported that bullshit. I get tired of y'all supporting bullshit. I'm tired of the lady supporting the Clancy verdict. And the lady that unalived her own children. You just leave that kind of shit alone. We don't need you on the internet saying we support Lindsay Clancy or whatever her name is. Linda Clancy or whatever. I don't support that. I don't support anybody taking their kids out. Y'all need to stop that kind of stuff. Because the truth is, I see you. But whether or not you see yourself is my concern. I see you. I see what you're talking about. I see what's going on. Like I said, how are you going to tell me that it's racist to include these factors when the whole reason why these factors were even brought into it is because you won't allow the people to just be offering opportunities to those races. So now they had to come up with another way to let races get into colleges. And the government is trying to stop it. Our government's trying to stop it. So the government does not really want black people to be educated. They want white and Asian. That's what they said. They said that this process is discriminatory very specifically among white and Asian students. So they want more white and Asian students and less black ones. Okay, you didn't have to say it for me to know what you're talking about. You only identified those two races. You could have just said that this thing with the black students is just messing it up for everybody who's not black. But no, you specifically called out white and Asian, both of those, like nobody else lives around here, like nobody else matters. So I already know what your issue is. You want more of that. You didn't get it, and because you didn't get it, now you're mad. And you want us to be mad along with you. And I'm sorry, I have to give it to the universities that are saying we're not trying to hear that goofy shit, because we still have to run the university. We're the ones actually educating these students. And granted, some universities, they teach these kids a lot of crazy stuff, but there is opportunity in college. I would be foolish to say that, having a degree doesn't help. Oh, it's very helpful. Now, whether or not it's helpful in the field that you're in, like as far as knowledge, who knows? But they ask a lot on every job application as to whether or not you have a degree. And they don't even care what it's in, just the fact that you have it, because in their brain, that means you can do something and see it through. That's all it means to them. So giving other people the opportunity to have that same piece of paper is not bad. And maybe if we got to the point where we all could understand that this is not bad to let people in, you know what I'm saying? To let people in and give them an opportunity if they're really willing to do so. It's not like they're just kicking down the door at East Side High and grabbing the little druggy kid on the corner. These are people who are applying. These are people who are applying to these places that have criteria. So don't let yourself believe for a second that this criteria goes away because the applicant is black. It's as simple as this. If you were trying to go to the University of Miami, I'm trying to remember the last one I checked out. I want to say it's University of Miami. University of Miami has a 3.5, 3.8 GPA requirement. I think it's 3.8. So even to apply from any school, white school, black school, whatever, you have to at least have a 3.8 GPA. I think this is out-of-state students. Out-of-state doesn't mean black or white. So that's a racially mutual metric, in-state or out-of-state. So in-state students get treated this way, out-of-state students get this way. That's racially mutual. Y'all get this price if you don't live here, you get this price if you do. That's about the only mutual metric I can think of right now, is just in-state students' tuition versus out-of-state student tuition. But when it comes to actual admission, it's very simple. Is it equality? No. But we don't live in an equality-based nation. So we have to have these things in place to try to give some opportunity to people who have at least attempted to work hard in their respective locations. Like I said, they're not just going and pulling the dumb kid out the back of the class. If you're bringing a kid to Duke Law University, this is not a fucking 2.0 kid who never showed up to class. This is probably a 4.0 valedictorian or something like that, who has applied, and in a law university is master's level. So that means they've already gotten past undergraduate school. They've already shown that they're good enough. They've already graduated something. And you're meaning to tell me that now they're still not good enough to get into this law school because they had a low income? Or at least that's what you want people to say. But really the truth is you just wanted less black people coming in. So if you want to make it equal, guess what's going to happen? Everybody's going to just say they have a low income. Everybody's just going to say they had to overcome adversity. Everybody's just going to become a bunch of like overcoming the damn oppression Olympics. And that's what we're going to do. And I guarantee if you Caucasian folks are trying to get in a war over oppression Olympics, you'll still lose out to black people. They got trauma you ain't never heard of. They got trauma from their own parents beating them. They got trauma. So you're not going to win this fight in that regard. So I hope Duke University stands up for what's right. I hope that they continue doing what they got to do, because I'm not interested in pretending that history never happened. I get it. Things are nicer now. We got a lot more opportunity. There are still some segments of the population that are on some goofy shit. Get that. I get all of that. But I'm not going to act like it was forever ago where you just weren't allowed to go in places because you were black. Like, you can't use this bathroom. You can't use this water fountain. You can't go to this school. This is not that long ago. It was just before I came to the planet. Just before. I was first generation of desegregation. You know what I'm saying? First full generation. The generation before me had a partial segregation, and then they came out of it. I came into the world, it was over with. So it was wild for us to hear these stories, because we're looking around like, what do you mean you couldn't use the bathroom? What do you mean you had to sit on that part of the bus? What are you talking about? What do you mean you had to sit on the back of the bus? And it's funny because now the back of the bus is where you want to sit anyway. You know, that way you keep everything in front of you, because there'd be some crazy ass people on the bus. But back then, you were forced to sit on the back. So you're like, you know what? I don't want to sit back there because you're forcing me to do it. Once you gave me the choice, I'm going to go sit in the back anyway. I just was saying I wasn't trying to do it because you were telling me to do it. And I get that. I get that. So we're coming into generations that just started. I'm still here. You know, I've got 2 generations flowing in behind me. I got grandkids already, right? So that means they're coming into a new world. My kids came into a new world, and I came into a new world. So that's only 3 generations since we couldn't all use the freaking bathroom. Do you understand how short of time that is in American history? That's not a lot of time. So maybe we should stop acting like the shit that happened before the last 30 years or so didn't happen. We wouldn't need any of this stuff in place if y'all didn't do the shit that y'all did to make it start. So if you're not willing to go back and really address the start of it and the problem and the fact that a lot of it still exists, and the fact that you can't be trusted to just be fair, and that's why they got to put all this shit in. If you don't want to take accountability for that, that's your problem. That's your problem. That's their problem, but that's its own problem. We know what it is, man. Like, don't keep pissing on my leg and telling me it's raining. We already know what it is. We know that things are racially motivated, racially biased. We know that people want to make it seem like all black people are just savage and just out here in the middle of the street selling drugs and impregnating women and leaving them and all. This is not, that's the world they want you to think exists. It's only this and only that. No, there are people of all races that do all types of goofy ass shit. And unfortunately, families are hard to keep together when people are broke. So that's the reason why a lot of black families can't stay together, is because it is hard to stay together when people are broke. If a woman is able to make more as an indigent to the government than she can by keeping you in the house because you only making $15 an hour, then that's a reason to split up the family. She's tired of being broke. I'm not saying it's a good reason, but that is what happens. So if you keep people broke, you will keep families destroyed. You will keep women and men from building strong legacies. They already got the number, guys. So that's why I'm saying this is overkill to me. It's like, all right, y'all had it, you got the head start, that's cool, we working on some things, and I don't need anybody to necessarily like racially try to stop me from doing anything, but I do need people to get out the way. I don't need you to hand me anything, but I need you to get out the way. And this sounds like people are getting in the way. It really does. So I know I'm getting in trouble for controversial issues tonight, but this is a major story that people don't talk about. We're not going to act like we don't know what the hell we're talking about when we're talking about something that is American history, that we've all learned, we've all seen in some way, shape, or form. If you've ever gotten out of your house, you've seen racism, you've seen some goofiness. Whether it's in business, school, whatever. You could be on a damn swimming team and experience racism. They be like, look at that nigga swimming over there and look like a black catfish. He look like a catfish. You know what I'm saying? It's there. So we're not going to get away from it by trying to act like it's not there. But what we can't do is act like these policies and these things are not in place because of that. And if they want this shit to go away, you know what you got to do. You got to get the other shit to go away. And y'all don't want to do that. You want to justify it. Instead of getting rid of the goofiness that needed the rules, you want to get rid of the rules so you can continue to be goofy. And I will say this. I'm hoping that America has come far enough to say, enough with that goofy shit. I hope that when they go to court for, when Duke goes to court, I hope they shit on the Department of Justice because they're wasting our resources on this shit. College is not that easy to get into for anyone. So the mere thought that y'all are acting like this because somebody got into freaking Duke Law University. Do you understand this is a mastery? This is next level college. This is beyond undergraduate. This is graduate school. So you've already done high school. You did that. You've already done regular college. You did that. And now you're getting into graduate school, and now there's a problem because you're black. Yeah, you can miss me with that shit. Because I get it. A policy can be created to correct an injustice, but then eventually somebody can reasonably ask if whether continuing that policy creates another injustice. And that's not racist to ask the question. And that's not automatically anti-racist. But that's all questions. You know what I'm saying? So here's what I want to leave with tonight. Maybe these metrics are exactly what the university should be using because it's too hard to pin down the race other than saying the metrics themselves become naturally to the race. So we didn't choose it. This is just what happens when you try to help out people who are low income. Maybe this is the best way to continue to create a fair admissions process because initially the reason why they had to do all this shit is because there wasn't a fair admissions process. Do you understand that? And so maybe we've created a system where race isn't written on an application anymore. But if you think about it, you can use other characteristics that will function as proxies for race. And if that's happening, is equality being rebranded? So we're just rebranding it as something else. It's not called equality no more. It's called opportunism or something like that. And if you utilize these certain demographics and certain metrics, you will land on a certain group and you'll be able to still provide opportunities. And that's the conversation. The conversation is not, are black people allowed into college? And the conversation is not, are white people being kicked out of college? And it's not, is everybody racist and all that kind of stuff? Those are really easy arguments. But the harder question is, what does a genuinely fair admission system look like in this country that is unfairly set up? There's unfair numbers. There's unfair people. There's a lot of bad actors in the legal system. There's a lot of bad actors in the admissions system. And so I just want to hear from y'all. Can we create a system without treating people differently because of the color of their skin? I want to say yes, but not yet. Because right now, we're too young in the shit. We're too young in the shit. We haven't come far enough that we can just, let's just do whatever you want. Nope, not at all. Y'all can't be trusted. And you know who I'm talking to. It's not everybody, but you know who I'm talking to. Y'all can't be trusted. Every time we trust you, you do some goofy shit. And I'm tired. I'm not blind trusting none of y'all. Show and prove. That's how you get to me. You either show me some shit, and good or bad, and I will take that information and apply it accordingly. So the Department of Justice, for me, they get a tuba today. Because they literally are feeding this goofiness about admissions at a second level of graduate education. Not high school, not college, not getting into Duke University, regular university. No, the next graduate school after you've already done all of this shit. So y'all are mad because people with the diplomas and degrees are getting into a law school. And you're only mad because they're black. Can't say they weren't qualified. They already did their graduates. Their undergraduate, I mean. This is where we live, guys. And so I asked the question. I just want y'all to know, what does equality actually mean then? And are we even in a place where we can try to find it? I don't think we can. Like I said, we're too young. We're too young. Too much shit just happened. Everything is recent. If you ever go on X or any of the websites where people can leave comments without being banned too quickly, you can see it. We ain't really come as far as I thought we did. I thought we did way better. But we didn't. And now our own Department of Justice is just proving the same thing. We have a long way to go. A long, long way to go. And in my opinion, we're not even close. So if these universities have decided to work their way around and navigate the bullshit by doing this, I will praise them for it, because there is not a time that I've lived in my life where things like this weren't necessary. And I believe that people should be judged on merits, but we need to be fair about these merits, because some of these merits have to do with family income being higher, which still leads you to a whole nother race. So stop lying to yourself as if these things aren't expecting a projected outcome, because the reason why this all came up is because their projected outcome, which was less black students, didn't happen. And because less black people didn't get that opportunity, now we got to sue the damn school. Okay. I see where you're going there. But I got to get out of here tonight, because we have definitely gone over time. I wasn't expecting to do that, but I wanted to make sure that we talked on it, because we were supposed to do some stuff on Kick tonight, but I can't do Kick tonight. I have something I got to do. So I got to get off of here, guys. So I'm sorry about that. But I do want to give some special shouts to any of the new follows. Shouts to Celia James. Shouts to Siraj Ahmad. Shouts to DM Hall. And who else was on there? I know we had one early on. Shanine 946. And who else we got? Now, we didn't get any super chats tonight, so I'm a little bit upset about that. And it's only because I know I'm dropping gems over here. This is real shit. This is going on. We're having a conversation, and I'm putting my own neck on the line by even talking about this kind of stuff, because the algorithm already doesn't like me, because this is the kind of stuff we talk about. And we don't leave nobody safe. I don't care who you are, Department of Justice, President, the Congress people, whatever. I don't know you personally. I don't have no loyalty to you, and unless you help my family directly, you ain't doing shit for me. I'm just going to call out the goofiness. This is goofy. This is goofy, guys. And I want y'all to take the goofiness with you. The next time they tell you that they're trying to do something like this, tell them, man, purge that bullshit. Go ahead and get rid of that. I don't even want to hear it. Now it's it's what do they call it? Reverse racism. Enough is enough, guys. We're not playing this game with y'all no more. We know what y'all doing. Come on now. We are the American people. They trying to divide us and still keep us arguing with each other when we all pay the same price at the damn gas pump. That's an equal metric gas price. If there was like a white price and a black price, that's different. Ain't. It's just how much money you got in your pocket. It'll affect you more if you have less. It's as simple as that. So it has been fun tonight. It really has. Any last words from anybody else in the chat? If I missed it, if I missed you in the chat, shouts to IMZ and of course Purple Groovy and my mods that come through and help out. But it was a really calm conversation today. I appreciate y'all letting me just run with this. so that I can at least get the information out and I can make shorts from it later. That's where I'm going to have my fun. But y'all know what it is. So I'll probably be back on Saturday. I've been on vacation the last couple of weeks. I'm just getting back on my regular schedule. So I'll probably be back Saturday. But if I'm not back Saturday, I'll be back on the following Tuesday. But I'm most likely I'll be here on Saturday. All right. So we are getting ready to head up out of here. Just to make sure that y'all know, when you hit the streets, don't forget, purge that bullshit. All right. So go hug your family, touch some grass, and don't forget, this is where we at. Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, Purge of the Bullshit, where we cover our controversial issues with a dash of humor and that real shit. Hey, it's been real, y'all. I really appreciate y'all. Go find somebody that you love and give them a hug. We out. Peace.
Where the only thing free is your mind and your time that you're spending with the three masterminds on the grind, never bringing you the tea, just the facts and some acts that you really need to see. Checking in on the baddie of the week, take a seat and a peek at what's happening in the street. Whose man's body cams are the coppers on the streets, watching videos of you, watching me, never sleep. Heat. God's blessing is the message that I keep. Cold world, bad idea not to be next to the heat. Coming soon is the leak of the tunes on the street. Stay tuned to the beat, cause the goons gotta eat. Bust 3 shots for the purge in the words. We got numbers on the head of the morally absurd. When the world starts to burn and machines stop grinding, remember this, I see my influence still shining. We locked in, stay clocked in. Yo, we coming for the crown and for top 10. When there's nothing left to purge, then we stopped in. 3 kings against the world, how we mobbing? It's the purge of the BS, land of the freest, can't nobody see us. It's the purge of the BS, land of the freest, can't nobody see us. We locked in, stay clocked in. Yo, we coming for the crown and for top 10. When there's nothing left to purge, then we stop then. 3 kings against the world, how we mobbing? It's the purge of the BS, land of the freest, can't nobody see us. It's the purge of the BS, land of the freest, can't nobody see us.